before we go ahead with the technicalities of what really is data science and how is it going to make an impact, etc., should you actually be investing time in going through a data science course, get certified in it, should start looking for jobs in data science? Before I answer all of these questions, let me take you through a small clip, a small fictional example. This is from the movie Captain America Civil War. I'm a big Marvel fan. Not that I don't love DC, but yep, Marvel has a special place. And Captain America and Iron Man are actually having a go at each other. They're in the middle of a fight. I'm going to show you a very small clip. Okay. There you go. I hope you're able to see that on your screen. So somebody said to Iron Man, you can't beat him hand to hand, because Iron Man is actually made up of a lot of supplements in terms of external robots. There are devices working. There are a million devices working to help him out. However, Captain America is pure muscle. He is a superhuman being, but still a human being without any great accessories. So you can't beat him hand to hand is what Iron Man's computer tells. And then he says, let's analyze his fight patterns. So the computer is trying to analyze the fight pattern of a human being here. It's scanning. And at some point of time, the computer says countermeasures are ready. And you just saw what Iron Man said. And suddenly, Iron Man starts getting the better of the entire fight. I'll stop here. So what's the agenda for today? What is data science? Who is a data scientist? Opportunities for a data scientist, especially in this current situation of COVID-19. And how do you become a data scientist? That's the agenda for today. So where are we right now? The small clip that I showed you, have we reached the stage where a computer dynamically or a machine dynamically can detect the patterns of a human being and actually deploy countermeasures? Of course not. We haven't reached that stage. Probably we can, but not in such a real time. You know, it hardly took a few seconds, maximum maybe a minute, for the computer within Iron Man to actually analyze. The computer definitely is not Jarvis. It is Mark 46. The Mark 46 of Iron Man could understand the behavior of Captain America and could actually apply countermeasures. So we definitely have not reached that stage. So then what? Data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, are these just fancy words? Where are we really actually? Well, we are in a stage where we have started using data science to optimize effort. However, we aren't in the same stage as what the movie clip would show. Of course, movies are always well ahead of their time. But we have started using data science for gaining insights, to make some smart decisions. Well, you would ask me, what about all the smartness? You know, couldn't data science help us detect the entire COVID situation? I'll come to that as well. And the most important question, can you actually reach there? Can you actually become a data scientist who makes a difference, whether it is to the business decisions, to the community, to the society around us, or to ourselves? Of course, you can reach there. And that's why I'm here to help you out with that. It's a term which is new, but like how America was already there as a continent, Columbus just discovered it, made it famous probably, or became famous. I set out to actually find India and then found the entire continent, but the people already there. Same way, data science has always been there. The sciences associated with how you work around with the data have always been there. But this term is new. Say so, Hector from the Stanford University. I'm going to show you a small list of all the related terms that you keep hearing in and around this. Business intelligence, right? Of course, there might be around 15 to 20 terms which are associated with data scientists all the time, but some of these terms are often mistook or often used as a replacement of others. We still do not understand as a layman the difference between a data scientist or an artificial intelligence architect or a machine learning engineer. How does it look like actually to be a data scientist? Yeah. So is it always about developing cool stuff? How do we go about? What do we really do? There is a business need. Let's say you want to sell more products, or you want to gain more visibility. You need more likes on your Twitter account, something of that sort. And then you approach a data scientist. Data scientist needs all the data that is there. Whatever data, whether it is relevant or irrelevant, that's what a data scientist would decide. She says, give me all the data, give me all the existing data, and tell me what do you want at the end. So you want more people to view your web page. You want a major chunk of audience watching your advertisements. What is that you want? And what kind of data that you possess? What is the history? What is the history of product? What is the history of semantics? Give me everything. And finally, we come to a practical solution somewhere midway. Okay, that's probably a 30,000 or maybe more, or 50,000 feet overview of what data science really is. Let us first understand, how does the data science really work? Or if you have to become a data scientist, then what is that you're going to do? Ask a lot of questions. Ask a hell lot of questions. Kids, they ask you so many things, and sometimes it probably gets you irritated. Sometimes you are just appalled by the kind of questions they ask. Well, that's what Russ Thompson said. And this is when I was beginning to go into data science. Says, data scientist is the person who keeps asking questions. Even when you have concluded, you still ask questions. Whether this conclusion is right, how can I improve it? How can I improve the efficiency? The initial set of questions are always to gain as much as knowledge as we can. We are drowning in information. We are really drowning in information. We have lots of data. Ask a lot of questions, make some sense out of that data. That's what you do initially. The steps, we'll take you through the steps of your approach. So the flow chart, or what are the steps? Understand the business problem and ask a lot of questions. Now, why I say business problem, I'll come to the other aspect of the domain knowledge shortly, but understand what is really required and then get all kinds of data. Become a Sherlock if required. Get as much as data, because even an irrelevant sounding piece of information might come into use. prepare this data well, put them in structure, put them in a structure where you can actually work with it, acquire more data, which your business partner may not be able to give you, or you'll have to acquire from different places. Okay. The amount of time a data scientist spends in the data preparation is actually the most, because you get every kind of raw data and then you have to work with it. There will be a lot of missing information. How do you put that in? Sometimes there will be error in data and you'll have to detect that there is some kind of anomaly or error. Well, once your data seems ready, that's where the actual sciences come in. So you analyze the data, you try to find out which piece of information is going to make an impact and how you are going to use it. Then you start using some machine learning models. You start putting in different kind of models. You start putting in different kinds of predictive analysis. That's where the actual sciences happen. This stage, if you are ever going to become a data scientist and if you're starting from the scratch, the stage where the actual sciences happen or you are learning how to model data is going to take a lot of time, or rather most of your time. However, once you start working as a data scientist, the data acquisition and data preparation is going to take the most time. So the kind of algorithm that you're going to put in, all of these come in the actual sciences. And finally, present it, communicate it in the right way. Of course, visual data, always good. You know, you see a game, a football game tonight. Of course, no games for some time now. But if you're watching a game and you want to see the stats of how they fared, you want to see how and where the players are placed, whether it's a American football field, a soccer field, anything. Visualization, the kind of statistics people pick up and then present it in such a beautiful manner. Okay. So this kind of player, this all-stars, this is a player who's been in all-stars. And how many baskets does he score in the start of the match, in the first 15 minutes of the match? How many points does he score? How many help rounds? How many passes in the last 18 minutes? These kind of stats. When you visually present it in a beautiful manner, it is understandable by a layman as well. That's the flow of a data scientist. So do I do this all the time? Well, not really, not everything, and not always. There are parts of it or the whole of it. It really matters on what kind of project you are on. So some regular data scientist, tasks that I am involved in. So how many people came back to our site? In fact, all of you coming to the Knowledgehut site. Okay, so let's see how many of you actually come back to the site. Are we keeping a track of it? Probably we are not, but someone is. Okay, someone somewhere is keeping a track of how many sites you're visiting and how many times you're going to come back. Which products are usually bought together? Modeling, statistics. So this is when I was working for a consultation project with Toyota. And one of the banks, one of the Middle East banks wanted to open up a new office, wanted to spread globally, and they wanted to decide which will be the first 3 cities that they're going to target outside their base location of Abu Dhabi. How do you decide it? Which city is the best? Well, every country has its political capital, a capital city, and then it has its commercial capital. Washington is to New York, or there are many actually, San Francisco, Chicago, or Beijing is to Shanghai, or Delhi is to Mumbai. So which city are you targeting? Almost every bank, every global bank has an headquarters in Singapore. So are you looking at Singapore? Okay. So if you're in Australia, are you looking at Canberra or Melbourne? Because Melbourne and Sydney will sell better. And how do you make this conclusion? Just on an intuition? No, I need data for it. Okay. So create a prototype which will help you predict few things, and then probably deploy it. And honestly, most of the data science these days, if not half of it, at least almost half of it is analytics. Okay, we have not reached the stage where we all, everywhere in all companies we do pure data science. It's mostly analytics, but a different kind of analytics. It's not just pure business analytics. Right. Now, I'm taking you to an image which is 5 years old, and this is when I was few years into data science, and I wanted to really, or I would say I was few years into machine learning, and I really wanted to see how data science works out. Surprisingly, the image still holds good. The image still holds good. What is it about? A curious mixture of domain expertise, programming knowledge, and a math background is what a data scientist is really. We may not belong to any one of those circles, the orange, blue, and the green. I may not belong to any one of those circles. How do I go about it? You will have to start at one of the circles. You need not be an expert on any one of them or all of them. It's okay to have a fair bit of knowledge on all of those, but you will have to probably pick up one of the paths, or maybe make 2 entries, learning things parallelly. Some of you may already be good programmers. So in my case, since I have been in the industry for 18 years now, I think programming was something which started coming naturally to me. So my entry point was from here. Okay. And I entered from here because I'm already somewhere here in the green. But I had to decide. Okay. I had to go into mathematics or into domain expertise. Well, I used to love mathematics back in high school, but it was a long time ago, isn't it? And when I speak of mathematics, it's really about the statistics part of it, or the analysis, something which will help me analysis part of it that I would need initially. But the more deeper and deeper I went, things like eigenvectors, so many things, Laplace transforms, everything started making sense. I started using most of these. So you may start at any point of time. Okay, it really is not required that you should be in one of these circles to start with. However, you got to start somewhere. Programming is something which people generally tend to start with if they're already good in any one of them or are new to all of them. For example, you are into biotechnology, so you understand how the FASTA works. You understand the schematics of it. You've always been there. Good. You have a lot of knowledge on the domain. You have been a business analyst for the last few years, and you work with Tableau, BI, or one of those, or most of those, or Click, some of those. So you understand that domain well. You have been a banker. You have been a banker. You know what? Your knowledge is actually better than mine. You can, in a few months' time, become a better data scientist than I am. The reason being, I understand the sciences of data. I understand how it behaves. But one has to have a quantifiable domain expertise, a measurable domain expertise before you actually think of becoming a data scientist in that domain. So when I say before you think of becoming a data scientist, I mean before you get employed. I belong to a domain called as embedded systems. So I understand processors, architectures, I understand Linux well. So my domain knowledge helped me actually come into data science. I'll tell you about my journey as well. So you'll be able to relate it on how it is going to help you. But you may be just a starter in this, or you may belong to one of the domains. Irrespective of that, you need to have a good knowledge of the domain. For example, if I speak about a particular sport, I was speaking about NBA, okay, or I speak about football. When I say, let's analyze this particular team with these three combinations, with these three players, okay, maybe playing as a forward and a mid, how many passes do they give in the first 14 minutes? Why are they always able to make a great impact in the first 14 minutes? For this understanding of how football works or a game of NBA works is required. You need not be a player, but you need to understand that quite well. And nobody can beat the kind of knowledge that what a domain expertise or a domain expert will have. Okay, so you got to start at one of these, and then an average knowledge of all the three is also good. I would always say a good knowledge of domain and an average knowledge of mathematics and average programming skills is enough for you to become data scientist. Of course, you will need a lot of creativity and the ability to ask questions. A 5-year-old chart, surprisingly, is still relevant. Let's see how this chart is relevant in 2025. I'm sure most parts of it will still be relevant. So I was more of a machine learner. I wasn't more into machine learning. You might be more into data processing after a few months being into data science, or you might be more into statistical research. Eventually, you become a data scientist. That's where it converges. But can I actually move from being a data scientist to an artificial intelligence architect or purely a machine learning engineer? Yes, of course you can. There are certain differences between them, but largely the domain is still attached to each other very strongly. In few years' time, we will see the change as well. Right now, as I said, many people do use these words interchangeably, though there is some difference, but they use this term interchangeably. There will be soon time where a data scientist will be very different from an artificial intelligence architect for any firm. All right, let's look at some of the practical usages where data sciences have actually come into picture and made a difference. And then we'll speak about the post-COVID-19 or how is it going to unfold in the next few months and few years. And speaking of something which has already been done, sports. An example which everyone can relate. I use sports. You need not be a sports person to understand sports. So, in the early 2000s, the Oakland Athletics recruitment budget was so small that the team couldn't recruit actual quality players, or at least what was considered as quality players by others. Well, that couldn't be recruited by the athletics recruitment budget. So the general manager redefined quality using some in-game statistics, some statistics which other teams ignored. So the manager there tried to use some kind of algorithms and models to predict player potential and assemble a strong team. So it was more about getting to know a good player before the player becomes popular. And guess what? His strategies helped the A's make the playoffs, and it actually snowballed from there. Author Michael Lewis wrote a book about this phenomenon, and you would have already seen this but not realized it, or you would have already know about it but wouldn't have realized. Moneyball. So author Michael Lewis wrote a book about the phenomenon called as Moneyball, which spawned into a film by the same name, starring Brad Pitt. And today, there is a 5 million global market for sports analytics only within the scope of athletics or similar to that. Okay. I'm not even speaking of, athletics in Olympics, or I'm not speaking of, athletics around the world. Okay. I'm only speaking of the local, limited to the country athletics. I'll give you one more practical usage. You may or may not have heard the name Ian Graham. Liverpool's soccer team almost won the 2019 Premier League championship. Almost. They didn't win, but almost won the 2019 Premier League championships with data science. Really, was it not about the players? Was it all about the data science? Of course not. It's a mixture of all. The players or the paramount, but how the data science helped. The data scientist Ian Graham, the problem given to data scientist Ian Graham was Liverpool didn't have the budget of its competitors like Man U or Manchester United, etc. So it had to find great players before rich teams realized how great they were. Again, the same thing. So Ian Graham, now head of Liverpool's research team, figured out exactly how to do that. It's not easy to quantify, the soccer prowess or any kind of sports-based prowess. Given the chaotic and continuous nature of play, there is everything, something or the other happening, all the time in one half, 45 minutes, it's like, and there is a rarity of goals. Unlike basketballs or crickets or tennis, you're not scoring the points at every minute or every now and then. However, Graham built a proprietary model that calculates how every pass, run, and goal attempt influences a team's overall chance of winning. And Liverpool has used it to recruit players and for general strategy. Well, I can go on and on. RSPCT, the basketball coaching sensor. Well, this became, quite a big hit and was adopted by NBA. It started in Israel, in Tel Aviv. So RSPCT's shooting analysis system relies on a sensor on the basketball hoop's rim. So there are sensors on the basketball hoop's rim whose tiny camera tracks exactly when and where the ball strikes on each basket. And then it logs in, it associates with the players. So it funnels the data to a device that displays the shot details in real time, and then it generates predictive insights. Actually, based on the data, they can tell a shooter if the shooter is about to take the last shot to win the game, or you're not going to take it from the top of the key, or that is not your best location, so you probably change your location, etc. Well, some of the practical usages. And everything about sports, no, the government uses it a lot. Uh, the US government, you know, the agencies which are extremely online can actually take in a lot of data, come to conclusions based on that. IRS uses it. There are facial recognition in ID databases, development of a sketch based on some kind of predictive analysis, who is trying to evade the tax. In e-commerce, how fast is my product going to reach the customer? On roads, speaking of the same thing, when Uber Eats actually delivering food, let us deliver the food while it's still hot. Okay, the data scientists at Uber Eats, that is the Uber food delivery app, have a fairly simple goal: getting hot food delivered quickly. So they sit with the staff meteorologists, use advanced statistic modeling, use the machine learning algorithms to optimize the entire delivery process. And things like storms or holiday rushes, which will impact traffic and cooking time, all of this will be taken into consideration. Okay, the streetlight data, traffic patterns, and optimizing the packaging routing. Okay, UPS uses it. Road travel, I can keep going on and on. I'll give you some insights on how the data we got from the COVID-19. This is United Kingdom's data. Big drops every Sunday and Monday. Well, I really have not come to a conclusion on why, but yes, there was a pattern, and pattern went on. At the initial part of this year, when it was not such a huge scare yet, at least not in my part of the world, there was, on February 12th, suddenly a huge spike. So as a data scientist, if you're going to take an average of the entire activity, and if you're going to take an average of all the data presented to you, then this also might be counted as an average. Or because it is so different from the rest of the pattern, why don't we eliminate it? You can see over here, the pattern is very much different. Okay, we would go at an average of 2.5K, and suddenly we had almost 15K cases worldwide. That's a huge outlier. So if a data scientist would have blindly built, or we would have blindly concluded that, let's not take this data into account, or let's take a blind average. Well, when you realize this, when you dig further, we got to know the real reason. The real reason for the jump is that China changed its reporting methodology on February 12th. So before that, China was only reporting cases of the disease confirmed by a particular test, by an RNA-based virus test. But due to testing bottlenecks and doctors being busy, etc., or occupied rather, not busy, they had to start screening patients for COVID using chest X-rays to tell lung symptoms. On February 12th, China back reported the cases that had only been confirmed via X-ray. So they also back reported on that day all of those previous cases which had been confirmed only via X-ray also came into the picture. Okay. So I'm not saying that every data will help us make an impact, but bits and pieces of data, identifying the patterns within, that's what a data scientist do. And are there patterns? Oh boy, there are. In everything that we do, there are patterns. You probably, when you walk down the street, the first step, when you go out of the house, you always take your right leg forward, or when you're going down the steps, you probably take always your left leg first or right leg first. Just imagine there is a pattern to it. You always do that. When you're going out on the street, going to the neighborhood shop, you probably walk always to the left hand of the pavement or the right hand of the pavement. There are patterns. There are always patterns. It's for us to recognize. So if you're in not just for the technical knowledge, if you're in for using your creativity as well, then probably you'll enjoy being a data scientist. Okay. So has it always been rosy? Well, this is now stale. So post-COVID, I feel it's only going to get better. There are few reasons for it. The importance of data has been realized. Now, will the industry get impacted? Of course, it is getting impacted. Will data science be a special case which is not impacted? Of course not. Will the industry, is it going to keep going down and down? Of course not. People need to live. People need to work. There are products to be made. There are analysis to be done. There are services to be given. So it is never going to come to a total halt. It has deaccelerated and it started picking up the acceleration already. So whatever impacts are there on each and every component of the business industry, the same thing will be affected on this part of IT, banking, retail, health, medical, so many other things. Data science might fare slightly more better because it was going on a very good curve before this pandemic. There's always a need for data scientists. For the last 5 years, the need has always been more than the supply. The demand has always been more than the supply and still continues. Even with this situation, it's going to continue. 2025, cybersecurity and data science is known to be, the ones which are going to have huge gaps. There'll be a lot of requirements. We are already started seeing, as I said, the demand being more than supply. We'll have something. It's going to get better and better. However, the impact, of course, will be there. It has affected everyone's life. Let's be honest about it, isn't it? Okay. It has affected everyone's life. It has touched anyone and everyone there. Even a homeless person has been touched by it somewhere or the other. Probably the homeless guy's earnings went down because there are not many people to give away charity, many things. Okay. Well, I'm sorry I took more time in expressing these things. I'll come to the last two legs of it. I'll tell you my journey. Was I a developer and a coder? Yes. Was I a postgraduate? Not in mathematics or related statistics. I'm not a PhD. I wasn't a PhD or a postgraduate on it earlier. I have a hand raised. I'll just come back to it in a moment. Suman, you raise your hand. I'll just come back to you. Few minutes. Am I a data scientist today? Well, I am, but I did not start the career as that. So how did I start my career? I have been into the industry for 17, 18 years now. I have been into embedded systems for quite some time. And I've been working with an embedded firm for data science a few years back. That's when I went into a complete full fold of data science. I of course did a post-graduation, but then let me tell you, I've been a data scientist for much more time than my postgraduate degree. The knowledge mattered more is what I realized. Okay, of course, degree helps, but knowledge mattered more. Have I used databases or Excel previously? Very minimal. And domain knowledge, well, I had to gain it over the period. Business knowledge, I'm still bad at it. Okay, so if this could work out for me, it certainly should work out for you. You probably are, some of you are good at business knowledge, some of you are good at domain knowledge, some of you are just starters on all of it. You'll have to put an effort, but yes, you can certainly reach there. I'm coming back to the image. Again, the domain expertise, mathematics, computer science, a mixture of all of these will actually make you a data scientist. Has it been rosy always? No, very quickly I'll tell you some funny incidents. Microsoft launched an Autobot called Stay, not an Autobot, sorry, that's Transformers, so sorry. And it was more like a chatbot called Stay. I am not sure if you've heard of this or not. This was on Twitter. So actually, Tay's tweets were actually really good. People would flock to have a conversation with Tay. The learning capacity of Tay was actually so good. The learning capacity was so good that it learned all the wrong things as well. In fact, the Twitter is flooded with pessimists, sadists, and so many different kind of people. Everyone have their own different opinions. The most of them are trolls, and there is so much trolling on this that this super intelligent robot actually started learning, and it started with by saying super cool, and it went on to say that they hated everybody. Well, there are a few things which I would not want to display on a public workshop, so I've just blinded that or beeped that. And suddenly, Tay became something else. Well, that's something which is not acceptable at all, right? And Microsoft had to take away Tay. Microsoft had to delete the account and drop the project. And it was back in 2016. And 4 years now, we still don't have Tay or anything similar yet. In New Zealand, if you can see, the gentleman's photo was rejected because it does not meet the criteria saying subject eyes are closed, which is actually a huge failure on the part of AI. So it's not always been rosy. In fact, that also gives you the scope. We are still learning, we're still developing. We're still not in the situation where a soldier, just like an Iron Man, can analyze somebody's fight patterns and actually fight back. Well, until we reach that, we'll keep needing people. And how do you start? Well, learn on your own. There are so many free resources out there. When I started learning, Knowledgehut wasn't there. I would have loved to have some organization like that, but there were very few people. I had to write a lot of letters to a lot of people in universities. Thankfully, me, Dr. Brian from UCLA actually responded, helped me out, etc. But a lot of free resources right now. Go to these websites like Kaggle, Medium, etc. Pick up data sets, play around with it, get some insights, increase your score, pick up a problem and started working on it. The water crisis in the upper region of Egypt. There is a water crisis in the upper region of Egypt. Start working on it. Get the data. You need not be there to actually work on it because the data is available. Or probably invest a little, get the data, and start working on it. And how do you solve the problem? Or else pick up a course and get guided learning. If you don't have all the time to just keep exploring blindly, then pick up a course and get guided learning. Well, there are a lot of websites, there are a lot of institutes that actually do that. Knowledgehut being one of them. And why should you go in for Knowledgehut? Well, the flow, I really like the design flow. And it actually changes from course to course. So the machine learning course and data science course are different. Though there are a lot of common things, but they are certainly different. The Python for data science and data science with Python or with R will slightly differ because the language will have an impact for how you're going to take it forward. There is enough amount of statistics. If you know basic mathematics like 4 plus 6 equals to 10, you start from there. We will take care of the basic statistics. We'll teach you coding. We'll give you enough knowledge on the algorithms, on the machine learning models. Your exercises, we'll be actually using practical data all the time. And the practical data will have, records going into thousands and maybe a million. But when we work on real-time projects, we're certainly going to work on million records. This is how Knowledgehut can help you. However, what you will need to do on your own is incorporate the domain knowledge. For example, I cannot teach you biotechnology. We'll have to learn. We'll have to learn the domain. If you're going to become a data scientist in that field, you have to learn. If you're going to become a data scientist in the automobile engineering field, then that kind of domain, you'll have to gain knowledge on your own or from an external source. And a little bit of common sense, that should do. All right. Well, started with what is data science? I started with an agenda. With these 4 agendas, I hope I have been able to actually give you a view on this. Thank you, all of you, for listening out to me. Almost spoke for 45, 50 minutes. Thank you so much.